And now we're going to move into a meditation and a channel from Kryon. And really, this is nothing to do in this space. This is your space to simply disengage from everything that's been happening today. Just let it drop away from you so that you can create a quiet space just for you. And allow your breathing to slow that breath right down so that you're breathing in for maybe a count of 6. And holding your breath slightly. And then slowly breathing out for another count of 6. You may even wish to place your hand on your abdomen and feel the breath fill in to your belly. And then let it push out effortlessly. Breathing is something we do every day. But now just concentrate on that breath. And in that thinking of the breath, let's also remind ourselves that this breath that we give out is going to the plants on the planet. And that as we breathe in, we are breathing in the oxygen given to us from the plants of the planet. Our simple act of breathing is a reminder of the oneness we share with the planet. And let's just give a little gratitude for our beautiful planet, the loving sentience that Gaia has for us, for you. Gaia knows you. And Gaia is thanking you. Your breath also gives life to her. So whenever you say, "Thank you, Gaia," I want you to hear the words, "Thank you." Your name goes here, coming back from the planet. And you may now relax your hands onto your lap. And in this attitude of gratitude, let us receive the messages from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. I would like to start a series of 3. This week and the next 2 will present a theme. We're going to call it Rewriting Sacred Truths. In this series, each week I will give you one sacred truth and explain it. That we are indeed asking you to think about and rewrite. Is it possible to rewrite a truth? I'm going to give you an example in a moment. Rewriting a truth is looking at something in a different way and changing the perception of it. There are so many things on this planet that science thought was absolute, spiritualists thought was absolute, and were considered absolute, unchangeable. It's a I would say a constant that is like it's in cement. It never changes. And then it did. Example after example of how humans stick to something because it seems to be proven and working, and then they discover, oh, there's more to it. Or they discover, oh, there's something different about it that we didn't know even though it looks the same. Perception is that way, and human thinking is that way. So this is about rewriting truths. Now, there's really 4 that I would like to bring to you, but one is so commonly given by me that I'm going to brush through it and remind you of it, and perhaps bring it up again in the next 2 weeks. It's I would call it the basic Kryon information since the beginning, since the early times that I gave my partner channelings to publish. 1993 book, Don't Think Like a Human. It starts the whole premise that God, as you see God, the creative source of the universe, is not a human. And you might say, well, of course, who thinks God is a human? And I will tell you, most of humanity is taught that God somehow is a judgmental, dysfunctional, bad father in the sky. A father, a human thinking father, male, that will watch out and make sure everyone does things correctly or does certain kinds of things according to the doctrines. And if those things are not proper, then judgment follows, and even torture. This is not the creation source energy, dear ones. This is human energy, human thought. You've taken human attributes and put them on the Creator. Do you see this? Doctrine after doctrine has God thinking like a human. Do you really think that's the way it is? Again, I will say it. Do you really think that God will punish all of humanity because one of them made a mistake early on when they were just getting started? And everyone pays the price now, and everyone gets tortured equally unless you do something. That is not the scheme of God. The plan, the scheme, all of that of God is love and compassion and beauty and kindness and benevolence, period. I'm going to say that perhaps in the next 2 weeks. But that is always number one. For you to understand that creative source that you can call anything you want to, God seems to be the word you've used. But you don't have to use that word. Spirit is a good one, because it doesn't have all of the trappings and the perceptions that the doctrines that say God perhaps might. There are other attributes that we're asking you to rewrite. Rewrite sacred truth. And the first of the 3 that we have brought to you before in pieces and parts, I'll now expand upon. Expand upon in a way that perhaps you've heard before in other Kryon channels, but not necessarily exactly like this one. Anyway, you need to be reminded. There are so many things that I offer the rewrite for. Because, dear ones, this is an energy that starts to awaken new kinds of awareness. The kinds of things that are starting to be awakened create new perceptions. It's almost like the light is being turned on in a way on this planet that lets you see through the veil, perhaps even holes in the veil. That veil that you have created, that you say separates you from God, like a wall. Indeed, in the past, it has been like a wall. Lower energy consciousness creates a wall so thick between higher thinking and you that you start to make up things that you think are on the other side of the wall, on the other side of the veil. Most doctrines, dear ones, of this planet were created in those older consciousness energies, doing the best they could to try to understand what that Creator wanted, if you can even use the word wanted, that in itself is a human concept. There's a Creator, there's us. Therefore, that Creator must do this, that, and that. How does the Creator feel? How does the Creator say angry? How does the Creator want this, that? That's all human. Those are all things you'd ask of your parents, not God. God is. God is love. But there's so much on the other side of the veil that we now start talking to you about, especially in the circle of 12, where you cross a bridge and you find a multidimensionality that starts to go through the veil, even beyond the veil, and reveal things, mostly about yourself. Number one is revelation about yourself. Something that we have said over and over and over, and now I wish to expand upon it. When you come to this planet and when you are born here and you awaken, your eyes open, you become sentient, aware at whatever level, your Akash awakens, here you are. At that point in time, who are you? And if you follow the lines of thinking of old consciousness, old rules, old doctrines, almost all of them tell you you're unworthy. In addition to that, if you are born to dysfunctional thinking parents, they'll tell you the same. Well, you'll never get here, you'll never do this, sit down, be quiet. And it starts to simply enhance everything that everyone tells you, even about God. You haven't got a chance. It's no wonder that so many humans will grow up fighting the system, believing they're victims of the planet and expecting the worst every single day. Listen, if you think consciousness is energy, what happens to energy that is negative, that paints a picture of bad things happening every day, and you put it out there in front of your path? I'm no good, you might say. Bad things are going to happen eventually. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, as they say. It's good now. I'll better enjoy it while I can because it's not going to last, you know. These are energetic thoughts put in the path in front of you, and then you walk through them. You do understand that, don't you? It's not true. None of it is true. When you open your eyes, as that infant that you are, right next to your mother, that moment that you arrive, dear ones, and everything starts to function, you are absolutely precious and magnificent. There is no dirt there. You are not born dirty or unworthy. You are seen in the eyes of God as precious, as part of the creation. And yet few believe it. I've chosen that for number one, rewriting a sacred truth. So many sacred truths say that when you arrive on the planet, you're not worthy. So many. That is human thinking, dear ones. From things projected onto God that are human activities, punishment, all of these things. And you will say, well, that came from Scripture. And that came from the whole idea of Adam and Eve's story and all of those things. Let me ask you, do you think the finger of God came down and wrote those scriptures, or did men and women write them? And the answer is all scriptures were written by men and women. In an older energy. Some channeled, some not, some guesswork. Some on purpose, so that the doctrines fit a concept of a dysfunctional, bad father in the sky. Are you getting this? That's not how it is. None of it. The veil starts to lighten. You're starting to see through the holes in the veil, and you're starting to see clearer. The light is being turned on for you to rewrite some things. Let me give you a quick review of a parable I gave some time ago. This one's a little different. Here's a story about a sightless individual, a man who has no sight and never has had sight. And like so many sightless people, other senses are keen and even developed much higher than a normal human being. Hearing, of course, but touch, feel. Do you ever realize that the talent it would take for any human being to read books by sensing bumps on their finger? What a talent that is. So a sightless person often has touch that is enhanced. This particular sightless person has a wonderful hobby, plays the piano flawlessly, because the sense of touch, they know where all the keys are all the time. They don't have to then fumble around like a sighted person. Their entire life has been one where they exist in one room. That's a metaphor, which is their reality. That's a metaphor. And with touch, they know everything in the room. They even cook for themselves. They have no trouble as long as nothing moves, everything is in the same place, and they are fully functional, sightless people. Welcome to Earth. This is the metaphor of who you are. And you're fine with it. And you've developed ways of figuring out what's here and there. And the parable continues. Suddenly, there is something scientific, perhaps, or not, that allows this sightless person to see dimly, but see. It's not an operation. It's not a medical procedure. It's something else. Perhaps it's even technology. Whatever it is, that person suddenly starts to see light dimly, and they can actually see what's in their room. Up to now, they've only felt what's in their room, and they start to see something that glows. A sightless person cannot see something that glows. It's always been there, and they see. It's not another door. They would have known that. It's an elevator. And they see a control that glows on the elevator. And they push the button that glows. The doors open, and they get in. And then they see all the other buttons that are glowing, and they see floor 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes and goes and goes, and that is where they live, and that is their reality. Is this getting you chills yet? Dear ones, as you look through the veil, what you're going to see is an awareness of light. And it's going to show you that your reality is magnificent. You are in a skyscraper, not one room. And in those other levels are all the abilities of magnificence that you have, the talents that you already have, the healing that is yours. This is the reality that's coming for you. This parable we've given before in other ways. But do you see how light would change your perception of a basic truth? That's number 1 of 3 that I'll give you this week, the next one, and the next one. Dear ones, every single one of these enhances you, the human being. It doesn't tell you there's something to do. It offers for you to see how grand you are that you may not have seen before. And so it is.